light up, please. All right, this is, Thomas and I have been doing this for a while, so I'll start off, then Thomas, Michael, and then Jim. What's your,
Can I do that? Can I start only because,
okay,
kind of like the Jim Harrison thing got me going?
okay.
The word red was all about this last thing, was the
Oh,
color
okay,
red.
sure.
And I have one red poem.
Oh, okay.
So suddenly it kind of, and Thomas knows it, and I just put it back into this manuscript this morning.
Well, that's how the Scrum goes.
Yeah, maybe, so I'm making no claims about it, but here it is, called Rembrandt's Reds.
Okay.
By the way, do you know the Lucretia at the MIA? Yeah. My daughter went and worshipped in front of the Lucretia for hours at a time. Rembrandt's Reds, 4 colors only: bull black, chalk white, blue for veins, red for hats and ribbons and blood. Lucretia breaks the heart. How right, my daughter, to worship the altar of this painting, to see and know grief in a marble column of light. Did Rembrandt paint it in a single day, his heart breaking as is believed? Sacred light bathes her forehead. Fathomless despair, her dark, distant eyes, mouth abandoned in the corners above the slant white cut of the knife. Blood run down her thin chemise like communion wine.
Okay.
So, what's that?
That made me think of this one here. Let me get that. Where are you? So,
I'm glad I rescued it just today. And Thomas always liked it, so that's why I rescued it.
yeah, I got this one. Again, this is the problem. All right, here it is. Look, once again we're drunk and happy, walking beneath the dawn's brilliant mackerel sky. We've already emptied those red clouds and turned them over like cups to dry. Tonight, we will swim in wine barrels.
Whoa, I don't know that.
Okay, well, this is how this works. Part of the fun of the game is to see which way you can kind of twist something in the last poem to fit one of your poems. And sometimes you have to fake it. But I'm not faking it here. I'm just changing the color. I'm going from red to green. Hey, right? If the women don't find you handsome, they at least find you handy, right?
You're right.
All right. So this is a spring poem, and it's called Green Imminence. April never gives us more than we can take. May now, that's another matter. May comes on with her green that makes us forget how somber the earth can be. New leaves are a lime green confetti thrown up in the air, confetti that never comes down. The occasion is every event in your life that can possibly be celebrated all at once. Wedding, graduation, anniversary, birthday, retirement. It's all for you, and none of it is for you. The heart senses something it has desired. The heart senses something it has desired and feared. Come near and then draw back. And suddenly, it's summer. I was after that feeling for a long time, and I think I got closer to it in that poem.
Well, I'm going to take us back to red. Lenfestey, you know?
Yeah.
The red-winged blackbird in the meadow. It's your fault. The red-winged blackbird glides in low, disappears into the glistening early slough grass, starting back to life. For a little while, not happy, just content. Peaceful breaths, no fear of anything. Even the grass rises, falls in a kind of breathing. Forget all the rhetorics, the mechanics of the day waiting on the brittle stalks of dried cattails. There will be enough other days to pay back futility, that approximation of change, to recall waking in the night, in love with the waning moon off in its endless dark. You have this small room of time to listen to the world, to resist fear and failing, something coming down like dark wings. Listen, says the heart. Wade across the river, says the mind. Carry the patient body into the sunlight. Taste the salt disappearing from pain. It is that simple, says the body, as if death praises the simple acts. The recollection of breaking out of one small world into another, lungs rising, as if they hold the memory of the sea.
I'm going with summer and about 2 or 3 lines that you had in there, particularly the wings coming down. So, and it's about listening.
Yeah.
So this is my best listening poem.
You should send that one to Judy for anthology.
Butterfly Song. The epigraph is from Robert Michael Pyle. I've reviewed his book. He's the greatest expert on dragonflies in North America. He was the founder, if you're not, and you should all be members if you're not, of the Xerxes Society. The Xerxes Society is a conservation for invertebrate conservation, i.e. insects and smaller creatures. And he's based near Seattle, Washington. And he wrote a book called The Big Butterfly Year, where you've heard of the big birding years where people go and spend a year finding all the birds. He went all around the country finding butterflies. I reviewed it. And out of there, I got this line. Some people think butterflies sing to them, but I haven't heard it. My poem called Butterfly Song. Near the garden in August, so loud, the singing. Near the near screams of the roses and the tiny basso of the snapdragons. You must settle under them to listen. The bassoon of the cardinal flowers, flutes of so many honeysuckle, guitars of vines, and everywhere clanging cymbals of leaf and petal. Then the run of applause from the skies pouring down like honey on frantic wings, the drum corps of bees, many different sizes, a solo snare of the bumbler big as a thumb and as funny. The giant hummer rolling and fading his pointed beats behind his electric neck and long sharp tongue. The beetles with spots and loud carapaces lifting off, all of them strumming the taut tympanum of humid summer air. Then, out of the high skies and down on spastic wings that scream impossible, impossible. Sculpted square rig sails, phantom cloaks, stunning spinnakers, lazy lifters, veins and scales, silence without stillness. To listen is to note the root tremble of all song, without voice, without flute or grumble, without sigh or anger or clang, but pure fluttering hunger, falling from the symphony of cloud and sky to settle delicate on the extended fingertip of the ear.
Yes,
Wow.
that settles that.
So you mentioned the bee. So this one is the bee and the mosquito is what we're talking about.
Damn, I don't have my mosquito phone.
A bee bragged to the mosquito. Every morning, another person crazy for the sweetness of God follows me. From the flower fields to my queen, my hive and honey. The mosquito replied, why such arrogance? Who woke those sleepers in the middle of the night and made them crazy in the first place?
Wow. Well, we're in an insect area, and it's very fertile. Our late publisher Scott King was also a naturalist and an expert on, especially dragonflies and damselflies, but insects in general. So last year, about this time, I took a community ed class on insects in a way as an homage to Scott, but also because I was interested in the subject. So this is a prose poem called Community Ed Insect Class. Okay? It's the last meeting of insects, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And we're down to just the instructor and the two of us who have asked the most questions. It's a new world for discovering in our backyards. Speck-like thrips with tiny mouth parts, enough to suck out a single plant cell. Imagine that. A spotted winged fly that can destroy a raspberry crop. And who would have imagined the antlion, that armored troll at the bottom of its conical trap, metamorphosing into its delicate lace-wing adult form. Such transformations are everyday miracles in the insect world. Thoreau found things no one else could because he knew they were there. How much more might we be taught to see? This science keeps crossing paths with literature. Dunn's flea is here, also Ogden Nash's. Don't forget Nabokov's blue butterfly. Entomology is a word buffet. Instar, Circe, Termitaria, Detritivore, Saltoria, Haltore, Pretarsus, Crotchet, Corbicula. Suddenly I realize that we three have given ourselves entirely over to the wonder, together occupy a space of delight. My student days come flooding in on me, and I am once more nourished on the honeydew of knowledge, forgetting myself so that maybe I, like the insects, can change. I will note that there's actually a very good retired entomologist from St. Louis named Dr. Robert Marquis, who's moved to River Falls in his retirement and is teaching occasional insect classes at community ed. It is fantastic.
Do we know about cicadas?
Not enough.
We could know more. Pray tell.
If you haven't tried this before, you gotta try this sometime. It's really fun, what we're doing. It's crazy. It's really fun.
I don't think I've done this before, but it is fun.
When you're writing a poem, when I'm writing a poem, the best ones I really don't know where they're going. And when I hear, these guys read their poems, you can just feel something in the last 2 or 3 lines that's coming, and you don't know what it is, but it's where we all need to be. That's the magic of it. One night I was sitting out on the front porch, and I wrote this poem, and I didn't know what the hell to call it. So I just titled it Notes from the Front Porch. And it was late summer. Cicadas, already lying around on the sidewalk, and the small wings of maple seeds sliding lazily down the air. The crabapple trees grow heavy with their hard green fruit. The lemon petals of the evening primrose stay longer into the day. In the dying plum tree, the empty wren house hangs limp, stained white from the coming and going, where wings filled with summer sky and the clouds just drift without worry through this blue August day, through this single day, carved into the secret steels of shadow and stillness, drifting on the wind like the impatient face of the deep red daylily, far from the great storming ocean with its undertow of dreams, where the twin sisters of fate and free will are at work in the silent deeps. It's got the word red in it too.
Well, I'm afraid that Thomas got me on entomology. Not a word which makes it in a lot of poems. And Thomas knows this poem, but because he helped me on the last line of it, it's made it better. But I love language, and Emerson said language is fossil poetry, and there's nothing more true than that. Every word in your mouth goes back 100,000 years, or it may go back last week, but it can't go back 100,000 years. And so the distinction between etymology and entomology fascinates me. So here it is.
Wow.
Well played, well played.
Ode to the sound of N. Language is fossil poetry, Emerson. Splice the sound N into etymology with only a small discriminating pressure of the tongue on the intersection of the hard palate and the solid ceramic blocks of incisors, adding a soft, low growl in the wolf of the throat. And we veer away from the history of the constellations of words swirling like nebulae inside the dark linguistic universe of our mouths, where a comet like a fiery eel carves distinctions from icy light, to change the direction of history into living bees swarming the tops of trees, and butterflies. My God, butterflies, how did their impossible body plan arise? And ants, do not forget industrious ants who inspired tireless Edward O. Wilson as a boy to see in their persistent trails the intersection of all the living universe, how it tunnels together. And termites with their wizard enzymes, digestive paths harder to mimic than modern science once supposed. The massive meaning built into the small of it, these two clusters of linked sounds separated by a muscle slickly pressed when called, by whom, by what? To change the scale of the universe from lost to vast. World with an N. Amen. That's the lines I was
Oh, just gave you the last line.
Yeah, he helped with it.
No, you had that, but I just didn't keep it.
You threw me a knuckleball.
You don't get a lot of entomological
That's
or
right.
etymological.
Yeah. So, okay. All right, the end sound. No, I'll go. Yeah, what the heck? Here's a short one. The end, I'll pick up on the, how many knives?
Good.
Whoa.
Silent K.
No one is sure how many knives the cripple hides in his clothes. Be careful. In his sheath, his most dangerous weapon is accurate love.
Oh,
Wow.
Short one.
short.
Didn't give you time to.
No, no kidding, man.
Give me time to think.
Well, wow. What do we have? Knives, cripples,
Love.
love. Well, God, okay. Well, I'm just winging it here, folks.
Yes.
You want to read that again? You want to hear that again? Why don't you buy me a couple seconds time?
Yeah, okay, I'll give you another one with an end.
All right, okay.
The rain. The rain is in love with me. She gathers herself into a puddle to show me if I look, I'll see that she keeps my picture on her lap.
All right.
Virtual acapella.
Okay. Well, okay. No, that's tough. The short poem should be illegal in this.
Okay,
Well,
you
I'm
can be
just-
the referee.
I'm just thinking about. I'm just thinking about the knives and the cripple, kind of a marginal guy because of that.
Yeah.
Well, okay. This is gonna be longer than that. It's called. This is about another kind of marginal person.
Yeah, but Jim just gave me one letter. I gave you a few lines.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm going to give Michael a couple paragraphs here. So this is a prose poem called The Face of God. The Face of God. He stood, a short, slightly heavy, dark-haired man on the curb of the freeway exit onto the suburban shopping hub. His body hunched around, something bulging his coat in the March wind. I couldn't read his cardboard sign, but the message was clear. In the middle lane, it was hard to pull over, though I saw someone ahead of us better positioned to attend him swerve over. I stopped at the light, the left lane open, and fast fumbled the only bill I had out of my pocket, rolled down the window. It wasn't much, but it would buy him a meal. It was then I saw the small black and white dog he'd wrapped close to his chest. The man was neither young nor old. I don't remember his features, saw him only long enough to hand him the bill and exchange God bless yous. Do you remember the way when Robin Williams smiled, a kind of celestial grief seemed to overflow his eyes? Think Fisher King. Planting you right there squarely in the holy ground of the human. The man walked back to kneel on blankets spread on the concrete and appeared to be comforting the dog, talking to it. Krista noticed him blowing on his bare hands. That's when I flung open the door and tossed him my mitts. The light turned. I don't know what the man saw, or his shivering, short-haired friend looking at me through the window, but I had seared my vision on the face of God. I thought of the $23 I'd just spent on a t-shirt in the city, and for the first time believed I knew why some few rumored souls give away all they own and from then on have no purpose except to alleviate the suffering of others and keep that face before their eyes.
Wow.
I threw a fastball and you hit a home run.
You didn't leave me any choice.
You're a power hitter.
I guess that one worked.
Your line, or your title, The Face of God.
Mm-hmm.
This poem is called The Perfection of Loneliness. Big blue stem, purple prairie smoke, bull thistle flowers waving as though the wind does not discriminate between which of it takes as a partner as we walk along the highway at the end of the day. So close to the big river, you almost imagine the dark current pulling you into the same dance, the only one, willing or not. As though a layer of clear water singing just under the surface connects us to the current just under your skin. As though death sees you coming, chooses whether to take you or not. The osprey above the flood could give you directions, but would you have the courage to leave the dead branch? To swim in the rising water with only your memories and the will not to die alone? As another day, a small, ordinary day, comes to its end, suspended between telephone poles, like forgotten power lines, bars of music left behind unplayed in an age of troubles, as molten light brushes the river and time, brushes against the idea that God might be a wall, to place your shoulders and your small back against that dark thing and its silence. Like a soul knowing all along it has been only the body, hoping you can peel back the world and keep going.
So now we're down into the guys standing on the corner, the troubled people, and what you and the wall of God either to listen to or to be a wall before you that you can't break through. In my book, a marriage book, 50 Years of Poems from a Marriage, we had a daughter who hit the wall many, many times. And I'll tell you this, if I can get through it. It's called prayer. I left my daughter alone like a sheep left alone with a pacing moon. I walked the mile to my hotel from her college room with barbed wire stretched through my back. I lay in my bed, an old shepherd, exhausted with tending, stomach sick with the taste of bad water. Even through the thick walls, I could hear the howling deep inside her head, see her shy reflection in the water. She huddled alone in moon shadow against the stares of her own eyes, pitiless and knife-toothed. I did what I could, cobbled a rough shelter out of windfall, lit a hazy lamp, gave blood, tucked covers. I was limping myself, silent as an empty bell. In the moonlight through the window, I see my gray beard rise and fall, with ancient syllables laying me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep, if she should die before I wake. That's right. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen. 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 And she's 5 and she has 4 children. Oh, I didn't know it then. I don't remember reading that one.
It's wonderful.
It is wonderful, thank you.
Thank you for reading it.
Yeah. Trouble. I know which one I'm looking for. Where are you? The wheelbarrow. The demented woman in a turtleneck shirt pushes a rusty wheelbarrow toward the lake. Its single metal wheel squeals annoyingly while she grips the handles and follows a sandy path. At the lakeside, she shovels fine sand to the barrel, which she built herself with angle iron and mesh, ratcheted bolts, twists of fence wire and paper clips, crossed copper electrodes and stainless steel cutlery. As she returns with the load meant for her garden, the grains simply dribble away. At her gate, hung on cabinet hinges and latched with sisal twine, she realizes it's time to refill the wheelbarrow. She hurries back to the shore while the windmill with its broken shaft spins in every little breeze.
Wow. Got the ragged ones here.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but these are seeming very hard poems to follow. Let's put it this way. I feel that they're very hard to pivot away from.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. This is another poem about an outsider. You can decide what gender they are. It's called Tightrope. Clack, clack, clack. High heels on the tile floor. I glance up from my notebook. Senses returning to the upscale shopping hub. I'm scrubbing myself. I really don't spend all that much time in upscale shopping hubs. Sorry.
The secret life of Smith.
All right. Anyway, so that's where I am. That's where I am. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. I couldn't help it. I glance up from my notebook, senses returning to the upscale shopping hub. Sunglasses, fashionably mussed blonde hair, conservative dark suit, makeup impenetrable. Nice sculpted silver bracelet above the too large hand. Some jarring incongruity, a piece of the puzzle that will never quite fit. Clack, clack, clack. Straight line lockstep in black patent heels. Precarious to walk. No room for error. One must make it from point A to point B without interference, without hostile detection. Though some, seeing, may wish the tightrope walker well.
A piece of the puzzle?
Oh, okay. Piece of the puzzle.
something in all of these poems, actually, in this last round, to me, speak to our insignificance.
Really?
Back in the 70s, I was living out on Bainbridge Island in Puget Sound. And I used to get up early and go down to the beach. And there was a big sequoia tree lying rolled up on the beach, and I'd go down and have tea. And one morning, this happened. It's a poem called Falling Dog. I am lying on a giant dead sequoia. I hear something at the top of the cliff, among the stinging nettles and the madrona. I open my eyes and see the sand wall cave in, see the swallows' nests and lovers' names disappear. A dog, a strong, dark mongrel, falls 50 feet through the air, his body bouncing off this ancient tree with a thud. I watch him a moment, motionless on the sand. I place my hand on his still rib cage. His chest begins to rise and fall. He stands, shakes once, hard, all over, runs down the beach as if nothing had happened. In one animal motion, he shrugged off the pain. No, the numbness from being uprooted. What has taken me 17 years, an inch or so measured in this dead tree's rings.
Well, it's like the advertisements today. It's really unfair to put a dog in an advertisement.
Yeah.
Because everybody flies.
I'm sorry.
I'm doomed, but I'm coming back to the same sketchy souls that we deal with. This is from my A Cartload of Scrolls, the Han Shan, the Chinese style poems. So the good news is they're all 7 or 8 lines. The Recycler. We pass each other on the street. You're a plastic bag bursting with cans, my briefcase stuffed with books. We nod, and I see your ragged beard is white like mine. My shirt stained brown with morning coffee, yours red with midnight wine. I think we are the same man. Passing by, you tell with your sharp eyes, you think it too.
Oh. Yeah, I know which one I want to find. I gotta find the right page though. Forget where these pages are. All these books. Let's see.
It's a good problem.
Yeah. Yeah, come on, Dad. It's not there. Well, I can't find it. I know it's here, but it was a poem about when I was working, and out of the corner of my eye I saw my dad reflected in the window. It wasn't my dad. You know what that's like, right? Yeah. So, all right.
What are you looking at, Jeff?
Through the corner of his eye. Okay, well, as long as I mention my dad, I'll do this one here.
See the way he did that? That was a little sleight of hand. It's like an ace up the sleeve.
My house, my rules.
That's right, yeah. And I can't find that one now either. So this one, since my dad's name was Jerry Young, I'm going to do this poem, Beavers Too Young. All right, we only have one more time for one more round after this. So
And isn't traditionally the last round anything you want to do?
anything you want to do,
Okay,
exactly.
all right, so
yeah.
one more scrum round and then one more
Yeah.
anything you
So
want.
we'll end with Michael, and then Jim can do whatever he wants,
Okay.
and we'll go around.
Okay, okay.
Okay, beavers too young. Beavers who were too young built a lodge in the wrong place. In the deep trees, under the forest spread, and much too near the highway. They cut the saplings properly. They wove a tight dome in water. Inside the dome, 3 tunnels curled to the high dens where they matted the grass for comfort. Then the flood receded. They built again. Further out, among the cattails and deeper water, they built again. Branch by branch, a new lodge and a home. This is the way to live. Dive into the swamp. See that? Dive into the swamp. Emerge with a sweet root. Then sit like a beaver and enjoy your life, having built it in deeper water.
Well, that was an easy transition here, because I've got a poem about a river otter. So it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. River otter. In October, the river cools and clears. Summer's algae goes the way of the other green, till all that's floating on the surface are a few late fallen leaves. Little canoes to oblivion. Morning after the leaves are down, the river becomes a still, cold basin, misted around its shores, a bowl of quicksilver held by the frail black hands of the trees. Looking from a bridge, you may see a dark head lifted from the water. Or is it only a deadhead stump? But the stump is narrowing, turning, and finally growing more distant, leaving an oddly static white wake on the placid silence. Look longer, and you recognize the sleek muzzle, the sinuous contour of his back, diving, surfacing, undulating in and out of view, for amusement or for some more serious purpose, foraging or mating. In any case, the otter seems to prefer having the river to himself. When the migratory geese have flown off to feed in farmers' fields, leaving the morning like the water itself, smooth, unruffled. Then he's most likely to show us his playful life. Though from a distance, as if to taunt us, we imagine how the freshness of that chill immersion might yet wake us from what Frost called our human sleep into the otter's fluid kingdom, widening like thought in quiet moments. River otter.
Another river poem. Different creatures. 2 herons. First, close over the dark water, then rising into the late afternoon sun. Two great blue herons appear. One breaks away where the two channels flow into each other. In the dusk gathering before night and the sudden stars, separated from each other. Sometimes you almost imagine the other's heart pounding. Could a shadow recognize the other shadow of its mate? Would it be good enough to just travel together, learning the hidden currents, the placement of fallen trees, standing still in the clear shallows? Does the body miss the soul, or does it only want more light? And the weight of a solitary form held up by the wind? Sometimes there is the feeling of someone walking at my side. When I look, there is only a slight movement, like a breath in the long grass sighing, then still. Oh, Eurydice. Yeah.
Well, this is about all of that.
Yeah.
All of that. He started with Dad. They got me the Dad poem. I was blessed with a wonderful father. And, but all of this reminded me. So this is, and I'm back to my first book. So this is 20 plus years old at least. I haven't read it in 20 years probably. Called Ghost Story, 4th of July. Say this didn't happen, I swear it did. Last night in the summer cottage of my youth, I woke to a bang, bang, bang outside my window. Right away, I knew it was my father. Dead these 13 years. My heart pulled my body up into the darkness. At 3:21 a.m., by the blue glow of the kitchen clock, I turned toward the waiting door. It was the wind, big like the old days, when exciting fronts rattled across the bay. And the neighbor's yard light trees pitched, casting vigorous shadows. Whitecaps formed ghostly lines on black water. A frayed American flag waved wildly toward the house. And I, fat with salty ham, his favorite food, my belly round like his, paced for a drink of water, then back for a drink of wind. Back and forth until birdsong rang the rim of morning. Just as he did his last years, laughing and brooding about the world.
Whoa.
Yeah, you had an amazing father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted my last poem to be about joy. And you said 4th of July.
Yeah, right.
So this kind of hits there. Because joy is shy. It hides from the world until it's welcomed. Sometimes it frightens us. When the comic delivers his punchline, or the old pro hits a walk-off homer, joy looks out from behind their eyes. Joy comes with the fireworks, which every small town reveres. It lights up their children from inside.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
It sees itself from one set of eyes to another. And once let loose, it exhausts itself with pure love and laughter.
Okay. Well, I've been doing a lot of autumnal poems tonight, so I'm going to switch over here to spring to end with. And I've had on my mind, Krista and I both had a lot of thoughts about a friend of ours in River Falls named Dick Beckham, a retired English professor from the university who just died a couple of days ago. Krista and I and Dick and his wife Sue were for several years part of a ad hoc group that organized barn dances, monthly barn dances in our town. By bar, we didn't really have a barn. We had an auditorium for a middle school, and we had these wonderful string bands from the cities and surrounding towns. So this is where this takes place. So I dedicate this song to the memory of Dick. The poem's called "This Also Helps Spring Happen." In the gymnasium, on a blustery April night, while the string band Poor Benny plays, the caller calls, and braided women and men in plaid shirts swing their partners. Standing at the back of the dance floor, the little old guy from the group home, in the Packers stocking cap, pulled over, a baseball cap with flames on the bill. Got that picture? Standing at the back of the dance floor, the little old guy from the group home in the Packers stocking cap, pulled over a baseball cap with flames on the bill, blasts tunelessly along with the band on his lime green plastic harmonica, glad to have a part in making this music. That's me. That's us. We're glad to have a part in making this music. Thank you for listening.
I'll close with this short poem. It's a poem called One of the Myths. One of the myths. Slowly you begin to notice there are not as many birds. The silences between their voices longer. As if the seasons were somehow longer, from winter into spring, into the dry grasses of summer, as if the departure of wings in late summer is a dance without return. Monarch butterflies and their bronze rivers of migration, high over the city, over the highways. One of the myths now. Maybe there will be a day so clear there is nothing but blue sky, no nests, or wings sweeping over the river. You reach for a snail fossil, coiled like Andromeda, glittering in the shallows at your feet, as if the patina lingers from the ocean once here, but not here now. Cries of soaring white gulls gone, the great blue whale not singing in the deep water. Are you sure his hunger and yours are not one thing? Your common loneliness a place of retreat? Are you sure you could not change? Could not change to keep them from disappearing?
I get to give the last poem of the night.
Thank you.
So, it's, Michael, I'm a guy who looks at the world as more glass half full. I always see things that
Yep.
I'm not, we're not going to hell. So, you know, even if there are some politicians that tell us that, or some people. And here's a political poem to end with, in a way. Even the good politicians get sucked into the mess of this time of year. But this is called A Pumpkin to Carve for Halloween. I bought a pumpkin to carve for Halloween and bags of candy to pass out. When they rattle the door for the handout, the kids will see the masked heads of the dummies my grandsons stuffed. Put a candle inside a jack-o'-lantern and soot stains its lid. When the light goes out and a freeze settles into the hollow, its eye sockets sag and its off-color innards turn to mush. A jack-o'-lantern with its lipless mouth reminds me of a politician. The hollow head gains its power by what's removed. Seeds and the future. Maybe election day should be in spring, the time of seeds and renewal.
That said, vote Democrat.
Yeah, I already did.
Thank you. This
Jim
is just
Lenfestey.
wonderful. This is just wonderful.
Michael Moos, Thomas Smith. Thank you, Billy. Thank you. Great time.